Got to see an early screening of Bad Boys Ride or Die last night. This is the fourth film in a franchise which is trying, I think, to become almost like this Fast and Furious juggernaut with the way that the action kind of unleashes and unfolds in these films. It's getting bigger and bigger, it feels like to me, and it started pretty big under Michael Bay's directorship, but now it's a new team that's on these Bad Boy movies. It's Adil Arbi and Fallah, better known as Adil Bilall, and they've been doing some pretty big and fun things recently. I love their work on the Ms. Marvel show, and of course they became quite infamous out in the world because Warner Brothers yanked the ability for them to see their Batgirl movie released, which was, after I've seen a bunch of their work, feels like a real mistake and kind of tragic to me because these guys are really fun directors. They obviously like to play with the camera and do all kinds of zany moves with the gear and put the camera in places that you wouldn't normally see it. There's lots of homages and touches to first-person shooters and sort of video game style quirks to the way the cinematography is put together in this movie, and it injects a whole bunch of energy for sure, and it definitely feels like they've got this 3D kind of perspective on where things can play, and it feels like they also break the rules of cinema quite often, and they just have a good time with it, and I think that helps a movie like this, which doesn't have the most illuminating or groundbreaking script ever for an action comedy. Of course, it centers on Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett, played by Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and these guys have got a repartee that they've honed. They've been working on it forever, but the movie does a pretty good job at examining their frailties and their vulnerabilities, and we see their humanness peeking through. This is something that isn't afraid to look directly at their ages and how long they've been doing this and how long they've been a team, and it also is tied directly to plot points and things that we've seen in previous Bad Boys movies, specifically the last one, Bad Boys for Life, which Adil and Bilall also directed, and that was actually kind of fun as well. I think this movie is a bit better, but it's certainly not an action opus. It's not the best action film we've ever seen. These guys had a lot of fun with some car chases and some, Call of Duty style action beats where we see a team invading the bad guy's lair and taking out everybody. There's a terrific kind of send-up of the John Wick style gun fu that happens in this movie as well, where everybody's kind of watching this madness unfold on security cameras. I thought that scene was pretty cool. Of course, there's some cameos, some pop culture references. You're going to recognize some people, and some people are returning to this movie, and that, perks you up as a viewer as well. You're like, oh my God, okay, I know that guy. And that's actually kind of fun in this. And I think chief among the wins for this movie is that everybody's actually pretty good in this. I liked Vanessa Hudgens and Alexander Ludwig as supporting players, these cops that really see the strengths and the virtue in Lowry and Marcus. And of course, we've got some flashbacks and stuff that bring back some characters that you haven't seen in a little while, and they're very fun on screen as well. And there is also some interesting new cameos. Tiffany Haddish has a memorable moment in this movie, and I was entertained. It's not really like brain candy, it's kind of eye candy and silly and fun. I thought that Will Smith and Martin Lawrence did a good job together on screen. We got a lot of close-ups of Martin Lawrence's face, and it was used for comedic effect with fisheye cameras and cameras right up his nose. But you know what? I had a good time with the production of this film. It was fun to go back to Miami and blow stuff up. And honestly, one of the characters that really stood out for me, one of the performances that really stood out for me was Eric Dane was a surprisingly compelling villain. We don't really get to know too much about him, but his ruthlessness was really cool, and I think he was cast against type. I don't think he's kind of known as the bad guy in a lot of stuff. I don't know too much about the actor, but he was really solid as the bad guy in this, and he brought a great deal of menace, a believable menace, so much so that it kind of takes a small army of Lowry and Marcus's buddies to kind of bring him and his team down, which was pretty cool. I also thought that Jacob Scipio did a really good job in this movie, and spoiler alert, he plays Mike Lowry's son, which we discovered in the previous movie. So there was, some plot to string along everything in here, but really we're just going from action beat to action beat, and Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are taking the piss out of each other. It's usually Will Smith insulting Martin Lawrence. Martin Lawrence is the butt of many jokes in this. but I was entertained. I can't deny it. I had a smile on my face. I wasn't laughing out loud. It's not the best action comedy thing I've ever seen before, but it was surprisingly enjoyable to reconnect with these characters. And Adil and Bilall are the real deal. I'm very excited to see what they put on screen next. I'm going to give Bad Boys Ride or Die a 7.5 out of 10.